Hi all, this is Simona Rich, and this is my last proper day in this Thai Buddhist monastery, my last 12-hour meditation day. And whilst other people are having a lunch at this moment, I decided to record this video to explain the particular meditation technique that I was practicing for this month for 12 hours a day. And I found this technique extremely beneficial for many reasons. The most important reason is that it definitely gives insight. So you may understand, for example, more about how mind works and what mind is, about your nature, about the nature of the reality. So basically this technique is designed to sharpen the mind, meaning that you will gain insight from things that you always observed, but the mind was not able to comprehend that. And suddenly, because of this technique, the mind understands the phenomena that it observed all its life, all its existence. So this technique is also good because the mind becomes, you're more in charge of the mind. You don't lose easily the train of thought. So these are the most important things that happen when you do this kind of meditation, and it also keeps the mind very calm. And what I also found good about this technique is that it gets you quickly into this meditative state. So for example, if you want, you can practice this technique only, but this technique also can be used as a way to get the mind into the state of meditation, and then you can do your normal meditation. So the way that this technique is done is you don't have to do it for an hour or 2 hours. You can adjust the time, but basically you walk for an hour and then you meditate for an hour. But if you have no time, you can meditate, like you can walk for 30 minutes or even 10 minutes, and then you meditate the same amount of time. And you walk. There are many steps involved in your walk, but basically you should pay attention to how you walk. So you lift your foot and then you put it down, and you also name it. So when you lift the foot, you say lifting, and then when you put it, you say putting. So you label everything that you do, and you continue this for an hour or as much time as you have. And once this is finished, and having a timer helps, so that you time the duration of your meditation, so that they are equal, the sitting and walking meditations. Okay, so I'll quickly show you. I decided to quickly show you all the steps involved in this meditation. So I will draw a foot here. Okay, so first, on a few first days, you just do 2 steps, which is lifting and putting. Lifting your feet and putting. So you walk an hour or less, depending on how much time you have. And when you lift your foot, you say lifting. And when you put your foot down, you say putting, and you should lift your foot and put it down with a flat foot, so you don't curve it in any way. So this is day 1, you do this. And day 2, it should be lifting, moving, putting. So you see, there are now 3 steps. Or like not day 2, it could be after a few days of doing this, you start
you introduce another step. So then again, with a flat foot, you lift your foot, you move it, and you put it down. So, and you see lifting, moving, putting. And then after a few more days, you add another step, fourth one, and it will be then raising your foot. So you raise the heel part first, so it's no longer, you don't lift it flatly, but first you raise the heel part. So it will be raising, lifting the whole foot from the ground, moving, putting. And after a few more days, you add the fifth step, which is raising, lifting, moving, lowering, putting. So then, when you're moving your foot, the next step should be not straight away you put it down, but firstly you lower the foot to the ground, so, and then only you put it. So you see, this step is split into two. And then day 5, after a few more days, you introduce the last step. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, you introduce the 6th step, which is raising, lifting, moving, lowering, and then touching the ground with this part, touching the ground, and then eventually putting the whole foot to the ground. So this step is now split into 3 steps. So I hope this explains it.
So when the walking meditation is finished, then you sit down and you focus on your body. So firstly, the first few days you just focus on your breath. So when the breath fills your stomach, you see rising, and then when the breath is out, you see falling. And people don't breathe correctly. We should breathe not only into our lungs but into the stomach. This is the correct way of breathing. I learned this technique in India when I was studying Hinduism, but Buddhists do the same thing. So in some meditation centers, they focus on air whilst breathing and touching nostrils, and this is my favorite way. It's very subtle and it gets me fast into meditative state. But in this monastery, they focus on air filling the stomach, and then you're breathing out. So you see rising when air fills the stomach, and then you breathe out and see falling. So this is the meditation. You just label this process throughout your time of meditation. Just see rising, falling inside your mind. And after a few days, you start observing that you're also sitting. So you see rising, falling, and then you're aware that you're sitting, that your body is in this meditative posture. And your posture should be either full lotus posture or crossed legs, or legs that are not crossed but put close to each other. I will probably put a picture of that for you to understand what I mean, so that this is the most comfortable position, because if you sit for long periods of time, it's better not to cross your legs. So you should be aware that you're sitting. So you see rising, falling, and then you're aware that you're sitting, and then again rising, falling, and then you're aware that you're sitting. And if you do this properly, you will get into deep meditation. You will start seeing visions or feeling sensations. This technique gets you fast into that state. And after a few more days, you can start focusing on specific points in the body. So I think I'm going to put pictures to illustrate what I mean. So you will have to for a few days focus on touching the points of your lower back. The first day is the lower back on the right, the point on the right. So you will see rising, falling, sitting, and then aware of that point and see touching. Then again rising, falling, sitting, touching. And then after a few more days, you focus now on an additional point, which is on your left. And so you will see rising, falling, sitting, touching the point on the right, and then rising, falling, sitting, touching the point on the left. So you should do it slowly and slow down your breath so that you really feel rising, breathing in, falling, the stomach getting deflated when the air leaves it. Then become aware that you're sitting, and then become aware of that point and see touching.
Okay, I hope I will get it right on the first at the first time. So I'm going to now tell you the points. So the first 2 points are located on the lower back around here. Point 1 and 2. Maybe brush is better. Yeah, point 1 and 2. So these are 2 first points. So you see rising, falling, sitting, touching. Then again, becoming aware of your breath, you see rising, falling. Then become aware of your sitting, you see sitting, and then touching, the second point. So this you do on the first few days. And then next time, again, you go through these points: rising, falling, sitting, touching, rising, falling, sitting, touching, and then you add 2 more, which are located here. So you see again rising, falling, sitting, touching, rising, falling, sitting, touching. Then you go here to the right, rising, falling, sitting, touching, rising, falling, sitting, touching, and you try to really feel that location. You might start feeling tingling in that area or any other sensation, so try to feel that. So these are 4 points, and then after a few more days of practicing these 4 points, you add 2 more. So they will be located where to show here. So I cannot really show it here. If it's at the back, it will be somewhere here. So these are 6 points: rising, falling, sitting, touching. Try to feel these areas. And then 2 more points will be located here. 8 points. And then they will be located at the front of the foot here. I can only show it on Buddha statue because I cannot really show it. Well, I can show it here also. So you should try to feel this area. the front of the foot. So this would be 10 points. And after this, you start feeling your knees. These are 12 points. And after this, you go up and start feeling this location. And after a few more days, you start feeling, if this is at the back, I cannot really show it on Buddha's statue because hands are here, but if it would be front here, you would have to feel the area here. And I will remove it because it's actually a back. So here somewhere. So once you reach this stage of 16 steps, the next day you will have to take quite a few more steps. And so it would be from the step number 16. You will have to go here back. And this would be the 17th step. And from 17th step, you're going to go here, which would be step number 18. And from here, you will go to this part. This would be 19. And then you will come back here, which would be step number 20. And from here, you go back here. 21, 21, and here finally 22 steps so far. So these are the points. So to repeat, once you reach 16 steps, you will have to go back to this step, then feel the point here, solar plexus, then go here, then go down to the same 16th point, then go back to the solar plexus and end up here. So you will form a cross, as you can see, kind of like a cross. So these a few steps you will have to do in one day, and then after a few days you will have to do the same thing on your back, and this will end the steps. So we ended up with step number 22, and from this step you will have to go here on your back, feeling this point, and from then, so this would be number 23. And then you will have to feel the point on your back here, 24. And then you will go here, 25. Then you will go down, 26 to the same point. Then you will go here, 27. And you will end up finally here, making it 28 points, and that would be the end of all these steps. And once you reach this stage, you just continue going through these steps every single day. And I personally would not do this technique throughout the whole duration of my meditation, but I would use it to get me into deep state of meditation because it's really, really useful. But I recommend to continue with this practice for those whose minds are very active and they, for example, find it very difficult to focus only on the breath, and they find themselves carried away with thoughts. For them, this technique done throughout the whole duration of meditation is going to be extremely useful in sharpening the mind and getting them into deep states of meditation, because this technique does not allow the mind to wander. The mind is continuously engaged in these different points, focusing on these different points, so it doesn't wander. You don't get so many thoughts, and because of that, it gets you into deep states of meditation. But again, if you don't have this difficulty, if you're an experienced meditator, then this technique is good to do for first 10 or 15-20 minutes of your meditation, just to get the mind into the meditative state, and then you can continue with your breath.
And so this is the technique, and if you practice it diligently, it will sharpen your mind. As they say in this meditation center, it will develop your mind. The mind will become more aware, more understanding of what it observes every day, because we think that we know the nature of this reality, but we don't. The mind is kind of, you know, we develop as human beings, we learn how to walk from childhood, but the mind remains undeveloped, and our educational system is a joke. It can develop memory or argumentative ability, which people think is discussion and a sign of intelligence, and it isn't, but it fails to develop the mind. And you will understand that when you do this meditation, that the mind is so undeveloped, it struggles to do these basic things, to be aware of rising, falling, to be aware of sitting, to be aware of these simple points in the body. So you will understand that the mind is not developed. So if you do this technique, it will help you to develop and sharpen the mind, and you will gain insight into the nature of this reality, into the nature of our mind, into our natures in general. So I highly recommend this technique, and that's all I wanted to share in this video. Thank you for watching. God bless you.